Paul McCartney and John Lennon were an unstoppable force, crafting hit after hit for the Beatles. Their unique songwriting styles blended seamlessly, creating music that captivated audiences worldwide. Their partnership thrived on contrast. McCartney's knack for melody complemented Lennon's sharp, rebellious edge. Musicologist Wilfred Mellors once pointed out that their differing personalities generated a creative spark, with Lennon's fiery intensity balancing McCartney's lyrical grace, while McCartney's optimism was strengthened by Lennon's resilience. Beyond shaping the Beatles' catalog, their songwriting talents extended to other bands as well. One standout example was their contribution to the Rolling Stones' early success. Initially, they had envisioned "I Wanna Be Your Man" as a track for Ringo Starr. However, after sharing it with the Stones, the band turned it into one of their breakthrough hits. Starr still got his chance to perform it with the Beatles, making it a song that linked two of rock's greatest bands. Their generosity didn't stop there. In 1969, McCartney penned "Come and Get It," intending to pass it along rather than keep it for the Beatles. He recorded a solo demo during the Abbey Road sessions, but ultimately handed it to the band Badfinger, who had just joined the Beatles' Apple label under their original name, the Ivies. McCartney later described the song's origin, recalling how he had been lying in bed when inspiration struck. Instead of trying to sleep, he focused on forming a melody in his head. The tune felt promising, so he quietly slipped downstairs to record a rough version, careful not to wake his newlywed wife, Linda, or her daughter, Heather. He used a simple reel-to-reel tape recorder, ensuring he captured the song's essence before the idea faded. Badfinger, consisting of Pete Ham, Tom Evans, Tom Gibbons, and Joey Molland, underwent a name change in 1969, following advice from Apple executive Neil Aspinall. Their new name stemmed from Badfinger Boogie, an early working title for "With a Little Help from My Friends." McCartney played a crucial role in producing Badfinger's version of "Come and Get It." He made it clear that the band should closely follow his demo, believing it had just the right feel. While Badfinger initially wanted to introduce their own variations, McCartney insisted they stick to his arrangement. As the producer, he had the final say, and his instincts proved right. When released in 1970, the song became a hit, climbing to number 4 on the UK singles chart and reaching the top spot in New Zealand. Pete Ham's vocals helped cement the song's success, and Badfinger continued their upward trajectory into the early 70s. They scored another major hit with "Day After Day," which George Harrison produced, adding his signature slide guitar. However, the band's fortunes took a downturn when Apple began cutting back. Moving to Warner Brothers did little to help, and tragedy struck when Ham passed away in 1975. Although the remaining members reunited sporadically, they never regained their initial momentum. McCartney's original demo of "Come and Get It" remained in the vault for decades before finally surfacing on the 1996 Anthology 3 compilation. The track was later included in the 2019 reissue of Abbey Road, giving fans a glimpse into the early stages of a song that helped shape Badfinger's legacy. Paul McCartney wrote a number of hit songs for the Beatles, including one he made up on the spot while in experimental mode in the studio. In 1968, the Beatles released the White Album, which included hits such as "Dear Prudence" and "Glass Onion." Another track from the record is "Wild Honey Pie," which was written by Paul during the recording session. The song is often dismissed as a filler track on the record, as it mainly consists of the words "honey pie" being repeated over and over. Paul later explained the origins of the song, as he admitted it felt very homemade. Speaking in 1994, the singer reflected on their experimental phase, recalling how he had asked if he could improvise something. He began with the guitar and embarked on a multi-tracking experiment in the control room, describing the process as feeling very homemade. Paul also shared insights into the making of the White Album, noting that it wasn't a major production. Regarding "Wild Honey Pie," he explained that he had spontaneously created a short piece, layering multiple harmonies on top of each other. He described how he built the song sculpturally, adding heavy vibrato to the guitar strings and pulling them dramatically, which ultimately gave the track its distinct sound. The White Album didn't turn out the way George Harrison had initially envisioned. He had hoped for a much shorter album, but Paul and John Lennon were not willing to make significant cuts. Ultimately, only 2 songs were removed from the original 32-song selection. After its release, George admitted that he didn't listen to the album himself. In 1969, he expressed his belief that making it a double album might have been a mistake, explaining that its length made it difficult for both critics and listeners to fully engage with. He went on to say that while people who had purchased it and listened carefully might have found their own favorites, he personally found the album overwhelming and rarely played it himself. Despite this, George acknowledged one of the album's strengths: its diverse range of musical styles. He emphasized that the variety of songs was what made the White Album unique.